Here it is in American English, preserving the dark, respectful, documentary narration style, ideal for a serious channel. By the end of that day, the number was impossible to grasp. 977 lives had been lost, not in a distant war, but in just a few hours. On American soil, most of the victims were in New York, inside the Twin Towers, at the World Trade Center. About 753 people were unable to escape before the collapse. At the Pentagon, the military heart of the United States, another aircraft took the lives of 184 people, government employees and passengers who never returned home. A fourth plane crashed in Pennsylvania. 40 passengers and crew members died there, after trying to prevent the aircraft from reaching its intended target. Those responsible also died. 19 terrorists, names recorded by history, but rarely included in the official count. More than 6,000 people were injured that day, and even after the dust settled, the attack was not over. For weeks, a toxic cloud hung over the wreckage. Years later, thousands of first responders, residents, and survivors developed cancer and other serious illnesses, especially affecting the lungs. The official number closes the statistics, but the true impact continues to claim lives to this day. Here it is in American English, keeping the dark, cinematic narration style, natural and powerful for a documentary channel. The Twin Towers were not chosen by accident. They dominated the New York skyline. Tall, imposing, visible from miles away. More than buildings, they were symbols. Inside them was the financial heart of the United States. Banks, global corporations, decisions that moved the world. To strike the towers was to strike the very idea of American economic power. Thousands of people passed through that complex every day, an entire city stacked in steel and concrete. This ensured the impact would not be only material, but human. Those responsible knew the world would be watching. Cameras on, live broadcasts, every second recorded, every image burned into collective memory. This was not just destruction. It was a message. Years earlier, the site had already been attacked. Its vulnerabilities were known, and the warning was ignored. That morning, the towers were still standing, but the target had already been chosen. Because when symbols fall, fear spreads far beyond the rubble. September 11th did not come out of nowhere. It was the result of years of accumulated tension, political, military, and ideological conflicts between the United States and extremist groups in the Middle East. For decades after the Cold War, the United States expanded its presence in the region. American troops were stationed in strategic countries, including Saudi Arabia, land considered sacred in Islam. To extremist groups, this was not protection. It was occupation, foreign control. It was within this environment that Al-Qaeda emerged. In the late 1980s, under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, the organization adopted a radical ideology. In their view, the West, especially the United States, was the direct enemy of the Islamic world. The group accused the U.S. of supporting authoritarian governments, of backing Israel in long-standing regional conflicts, of exploiting natural resources, especially oil, and of maintaining military bases on sacred land. From their perspective, violence became a response. The September 11th attacks were carefully planned, with a clear objective: to strike at the symbols of American power. The Twin Towers represented economic power. The Pentagon represented military power. Beyond destruction, the plan was meant to spread fear on a global scale, to provoke a military response from the United States, and to prove that even the most powerful nation in the world was not untouchable. Before 2001, the warning signs were already there. In 1998, attacks on U.S. embassies in Africa. In 2000, the bombing of the USS Cole. Clear signals. Ignored. September 11th became the breaking point. After that day, the United States launched the War on Terror. It invaded Afghanistan. Security policies were rewritten. Airport controls were transformed. International surveillance expanded. Global geopolitics would never be the same. None of this justifies the attack, but it explains how it became possible. The world before September 11th. Before September 11th, the world felt stable. The United States was seen as an untouchable power, not only strong, but secure. Wars happened far away. Crises seemed under control. There was a widespread belief that certain things simply could not happen. Air travel was different. There were no long security lines, no strict screenings. Families could walk passengers all the way to the boarding gate. The sky was not seen as a threat. New York moved at its usual pace. Fast, loud, confident. In Lower Manhattan, two towers dominated the skyline. The Twin Towers were not just office buildings. They were a tourist destination. People took photos. Workers crossed the complex every day, never imagining they were stepping into a global symbol. Part of the world's economic engine operated there. Banks, international companies, offices connecting continents. For many, the place represented success, progress, and stability. The world looked to the United States as if it were a command center. The economy was thriving. Technology was advancing. The idea of safety felt guaranteed. There was no constant fear, no daily suspicion. The word terrorism existed, but it felt distant. Something that happened in other countries, in other realities. On that September morning, the sky was clear. Traffic moved as usual. Thousands of people began what seemed like an ordinary day, and no one knew that it would be the last day of a world that would never exist again. Before September 11th, the world believed that certain things simply could not happen. Comments from people who experienced September 11th. Woman worker in Manhattan. At first, we thought it was an accident. People were looking up, trying to understand. No one was running yet. It was only when we saw the second plane that the fear truly began. Man employee inside the World Trade Center. The building shook like an earthquake. The lights went out for a second, then came the smell of smoke. That's when we realized we needed to get out immediately. Fire engine, New York firefighter. We were going up the stairs while everyone else was coming down. Some people stopped to thank us. Others were just crying. We didn't really know what was happening above us. Woman, New York resident. The sky was blue, perfect, and yet it felt like the end of the world. I had never seen Manhattan so quiet. Man, live journalist. We are witnessing something no one ever imagined seeing. A second plane has just struck the other tower. This is not an accident. Woman passenger at an American airport. All flights were canceled. People were hugging each other even though they were strangers. No one understood what would happen next. Man, family member of a victim. I received a short call. He just said he loved me, and then the line went dead. Ambulance, first responder. The dust covered everything. It looked like snow, but it was silence. A heavy silence. Boy student watching on TV. The teachers turned on the television thinking it was just regular news. We sat there watching, not realizing we were seeing history change. That day, millions watched through their televisions. But for thousands of people, history was not just a news story. It was reality unfolding all around them. In the end, September 11th is not only about towers that fell, or planes that crossed the sky that morning. It is about people. People who woke up to what seemed like an ordinary day. Who made plans. Who said, "See you later," never imagining it would be goodbye. Fathers, mothers, children, friends. Dreams interrupted in just a few hours. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost. Thousands of stories were left unfinished. And silence replaced what had once been everyday life. But within the tragedy, there was also courage. First responders who ran toward danger. Strangers helping strangers. People who chose compassion, even in the face of fear. The world changed that day. Cities changed. Policies changed. But the memory remains. Today, the towers are no longer there. But the names live on. Engraved in stone. In history. And in the memories of millions. May they never be remembered only for how they died, but for the lives they lived. Because some dates mark time, and others mark humanity. September 11th, 2001. We remember. We honor. We will never forget.